there, and welcome back to Don't Open That Door. Come along with our triumvirate of terror as we descend into darkness, hurtle into horror, and plunge into peril. If you have ever had to wear kitchenware as part of a costume when you were a kid, or maybe as an adult, you're in the right place. I'm Justin, and after seeing this, steel pan has a whole new meaning.
I'm Nico, and I briefly thought about recording this episode while wearing a big fucking stainless steel pot over my head, but I didn't because I'm not a psychopath.
Well, I'm Dan, and I would be Skillet Boy.
Oh!
Skillet Boy to the rescue! Panman and Skillet Boy, preventing all sorts of culinary mishaps across the city.
Yep.
And we are here today to review Panman. Directed by Tim Pelleri, starring G. Larry Butler as Professor Hunter, Tim Pelleri as the titular Panman, Talia Tabin as Hope, Tina Molina as Justice, and David Flajnik as David. So we open with two college-aged women discussing how they did on their professor's midterm exam, which of course was on poached salmon. A man appears and steals one of their purses when Panman appears, a silent man clad in all black with a stock pot on his head and a saucepan in hand. He kills the assailant and the two girls, so not really heroic at all. The following day, we are introduced to Hope, a young woman in the same class as Panman's two most recent victims. She hangs out with her boyfriend after class when Panman appears. He kills her boyfriend, but leaves Hope unharmed. He instead hands her a note asking her if she likes him and gives her his phone number. So, I'm curious about this man's methodology, but Nico, you could probably shed more light on it.
We'll see about that. Soon after Hope's run-in with Panman, she's approached by David, a Panman hunter. He tells Hope that she should get Panman to fall in love with her so that David can finally take him down. And Hope agrees. She calls Panman and asks if he wants to grab coffee, and he seemingly agrees. Once again, though, he doesn't speak. So it's kind of nuts. Later on, Hope and Panman enjoy a lovely date on the beach, and Panman takes her back home. Hope then asks Panman if he'd like to stop by for dinner the following night, and Panman agrees.
All right. Looks like he's cooking up some chemistry here. So the pair end up getting closer and closer, and they even fall in love with each other. It's also revealed that Panman, in a rare moment of actually speaking, is Hope's classmate, Jeremy. Unfortunately, though, this love is destined for tragedy because Panman overhears a conversation between David and Hope, and Hope is basically trying to get out of her deal with David because she loves Panman at this point and doesn't really want to hurt him. Panman doesn't hear the whole part about love, though, and he flies into a rage thinking that, Hope's betrayed him, so he kills her. Panman's still pretty sad about this, though, and there's a really sad montage. Also, he kills David. He does that too. Well, Dan, pick up the pieces here. What happens next?
Well, at Hope's funeral/wake, we learn that her last name is To Live. And her sister, Justice, shows up. Hope's death was ruled as a suicide, but Justice knows better. She joins up with a group of soon-to-be super chefs that hunt Panman under the supervision of Professor Hunter, who is Hope's cooking teacher. Panman runs into Justice at Hope's house, but can't bring himself to kill her as he is reminded of Hope. Professor Hunter and company hatch a plan with Justice to lure Panman to a restaurant and ambush him. They also tell Justice that Panman is actually the spirit of a chef named Dolodrof that was killed. His spirit possesses people and turns them into Panman. He does have one weakness, though: pesto.
Well, Nico, I know you know a lot about pesto, but do you know a lot about the rest of this? What happens
Make
next?
a mean fucking pesto, man.
Well, there you go. Tell me what happens next.
Panman shows up, but thwarts the ambush and kills one of the chefs as he escapes. Soon after, he kills all of the super chefs until only Justice and the Professor remain. They use pesto to incapacitate Panman. And I want to take a second to just acknowledge how fucking insane that sounds. I get it. I really do. They use pesto to incapacitate him, but his spirit swaps bodies repeatedly until he can get away, like he's doing some weird teleportation shit in a fighting game. Professor Hunter then flies into a rage and kidnaps Justice to take her to the final battle with Panman. The professor also explains that he hates Panman because Panman fucked his wife, and that Panman kills students because he doesn't want anyone to know the recipe to his just 1 million out of 10 good poached salmon.
Mm-hmm. Well, Dan, I think this summary's been poached long enough. Why don't you serve it up for the rest of us? What's the end?
Well, the professor and Panman have their final showdown, where Panman throws a pot cover into the professor's chest, and the professor hits Panman with a vial of pesto, sending him over the cliff. Justice then kills the professor as a revenge for him using her sister as bait. The spirit of Panman leaves Jeremy's body, and he calls for Hope as he dies. Panman's spirit enters a passerby, who gets into a car and offers Justice a ride. The two ride away as the credits begin. The end. Psych! Because we were treated to a post-credit scene with two students that the professor kidnapped, where the one surviving woman laments that she is hungry. And now it's the end for real.
Well, we got some stuff to simmer through here, so let's go ahead and get started. Nico, how did this movie look?
It looked like a really well done student project.
Mm-hmm.
It's not great. I mean, it is very silly, just the whole getup and aesthetic of it, but that's the charm of it, right? I don't think you're going into something called Panman looking for annihilation.
No, I mean, that's totally fair. Dan, are you on the, same pot here?
Yeah, I do. I was trying to think of a clever pun and I couldn't. But I feel like I like
He's
his
walking
costume.
here. Like a walk. Get your fried rice going.
I see.
Yo, have
Like
you heard that one
Christopher.
song? I took the walk to Poland, or whatever the
Yeah.
fuck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just so we all know.
Unfortunately.
I'm glad you said it because I was gonna.
Anyways, I like Panman's outfit is literally just,
Seriously, what the fuck is that song?
I don't know.
It's about drugs, bro. But anyways, keep going.
But it's better than that one AR song though.
Oh, hell yeah, it is.
Fuck, those who know, unfortunately, know.
But I like his outfit. It's just like a black robe and a pot over his head. And that's it. Like they put zero effort into that and it's great. I like his like weapons are kind of cool and creative, which is just pot lids and yeah.
I like it because at one point in time, he's like looking for a weapon, but like he's got like a knife, right? But he's like, nah, I can't fuck this knife. Can't use this knife. Like he tries all different shit, but then he ends up settling on like when you have tinfoil, the serrated edge you use to cut the tinfoil. He uses that.
That was the most needlessly complicated shit I've ever seen.
He uses that to kill Hope.
He had knives like right fucking next to him.
Yeah, he uses that to kill Hope, and I was like, it's kind of brutal in a way, because that's like killing someone with like a rusty knife almost, you know what I mean, or a dull knife. So I definitely felt that, but I like Panman's outfit as well. Also, I think the movie didn't try to do too much. Like
Really
sometimes when you have B movies,
Clearly.
yeah, like sometimes when you have B movies, it's almost like whenever they try and do something big, it looks really cheesy. But all the gore was done with practical effects here, so it at least looks somewhat good. Like it doesn't look totally fake and cheap. And really, aside from Panman's plummet to his death at the end, like, I think for me, this solidly occupies like the kind of B tier movie, like definitely kind of inspired by some of the trauma stuff and some of the other stuff as well. So I can definitely see elements of that. But I want to go ahead now and Dan, talk about the sound. Like, what are the sounds like in this?
I thought they were pretty funny. Just like they would just add random like sound, or not random, but just like sound effects there. So there's this one love scene, like when he and Hope are like having a happy relationship, and then she like leans in to like kiss him or like something, and then she bonks her head on his pot head, and it's just like gong. And like there's just like random shit like that happens like all the time, and it's fucking hilarious. I love all the sound effects. His like theme music of when he was like killing people was kind of cool too, like a big like bass synth kind of thing, pulsating bass synth. And then the like one of the other suspenseful theme music ones reminded me a lot of Lord of the Rings, like when like the orcs are coming or whatever.
Thank you.
Yeah.
What? Fucking Howard Shore over here out of fucking nowhere.
Mhm.
Just inexplicably. That and like, oh god, there was another one. It's like the fucking Witcher soundtrack almost.
Yeah, with the vocal line thing.
Yeah.
You know what's funny?
It's what's up?
Does it sing
Nico,
closer?
Nico, you made that point like 6 years ago. You literally made that same point like 6 years ago.
Oh shit, I remember that now actually.
Did I?
Yeah, he did. Nico literally made that same point
Wow.
like 6 years ago.
I remember that.
All right, so story
And we were
time.
talking about being a 5'4" or whatever.
Yeah.
I remember that.
Yeah. But, well, we'll go into the story after. Because I want to talk about one thing in particular that I liked in terms of the sound. So, same beach scene that Dan's talking about. They were playing, it's so difficult to define the genre because it sounded like post-rock almost, but like happy as shit. Because like most post-rock is kind of mellow and like at times even depressing or nihilistic, at least to me. But this was like really, I don't know, like happy. And I was, it fit the scene perfectly. I was like, yo. And then there's a point where Panman's like in the car and he's like changing the radio station to like different genres and like switches to a country one. And like the dude's like, my dog smoked all my cigarettes. I was like, yo, what the fuck? So
yeah, that shit was great.
there's a lot going on there. But I want to ask you, Nico, what's your auditory experience in this one?
I'm gonna sum this up by what my roommate Alex said while we were watching this. He said this makes the room look like The Shining. And I think that fits with just the entire vibe of the visuals and the sound, frankly.
Well, let's go ahead now and let's talk about him. Let's talk about the main man himself, Panman. How do you think he is as a slasher villain? Because that's really what Panman is. Is he OP? Is he weak? Like, what do you guys think about him?
I think he's OP as shit, bro.
Why is that?
I think he's a little bitch.
Oh,
Wow. Why?
Like, you could just like, again, kick the shit out of him. I know he could like do some like weird body swapping shit, but like, you could kick the shit out of this dude, bro.
He'll just body swap.
Hey, that doesn't take away from his status of being a little bitch.
I mean, I don't know, because Panman is like more so the spirit than he is the host. So like, are you really beating up Panman or are you just giving him an opportunity to take you over?
I mean, if we're assuming, I don't know if I'm beating you to the punch here, Justin, but if I know his weakness is pesto, I'm going to come correct.
I mean, you can come however you'd like, but I'm telling you that Panman, hey, no, you listen. So Panman is going to hit you with that saucepan. He's going to get you with any type of trick.
I'm really glad that you put the pan word after. Thanks for that one.
He hits you with the sauce.
So it could be whatever, bro. It could be whatever. I doubt you can take down Panman. But Dan, what are you talking about over here?
Bro, he's OP. He just body swaps.
Yeah.
Like, and
Wouldn't
there doesn't seem to be any limitations to it. He just does it whenever he wants. It's not like you have to be like weakened or dying or like angry or a good cook or anything. He just body swaps into you just because he wants to.
Yeah. His
At will.
spirit seemingly can't be stopped.
I have always wondered what I would look like with green eyes.
And
for context, your eyes become green when he possesses you. That's not just some weird comment.
Okay, fair enough. And how'd you guys feel about the fact that Panman is a combination sometimes of the host's desire and also Panman's desires? Because, I mean, he falls in love, and seemingly Jeremy, Panman's host, is able to actually fight off Panman for a little bit because he says, like, I really like you and all that stuff. So,
and he walks away from her a couple of times too when he would have otherwise had the opportunity to finish her off.
He walks away from her.
When you walk away.
I mean, she polished his pan once or twice. That's confirmed.
She did, actually. Yeah, you're right.
And you don't hear him say, shit, because he doesn't talk, except the one time that he does.
Yeah. So I would say that it's kind of cool. Like, I know it's kind of lame, but I'm down for that. I like the little kind of love story they had there, even though it's over 30 minutes in.
It's oddly charming, yeah.
And then there's like an hour left and the movie swaps completely away from those characters they spent half an hour building up. So that's kind of interesting, I guess. But Dan, you're known kind of on the internet as the funny man of this podcast. So
Am I?
let me ask you here. How's the comedy in this movie? How does it interplay with the horror? And is this more a horror comedy or is this a comedy horror?
Well, first, I like the comedy. I think it's pretty funny, especially like the first half of the movie, maybe. I feel like the second half isn't quite as funny, maybe because I'm a little more used to it at that point or something. But I feel like the first half I just thought was fucking hilarious. Is it comedy horror or horror comedy? I feel like I'm going to say equal
horror.
parts. I'm going to be a little punk and go 50-50 on it. Because I feel like it's like presented almost as like a slasher.
Mm-hmm.
And there's plenty of like horror elements in there. So I don't think it's any less horror by adding the comedy, but it's also like obviously 100% a joke. So like I feel like it's equal parts.
Mm-hmm. Nico, do you think that this horror commonly could be called a horror comedy?
Wow. Nice, Justin. That was good. I think I feel like the whole notion of a B movie eclipses the idea of a horror comedy as genre personally. Like I fundamentally think of those as two different things just in terms of tone, I guess. Like I wouldn't consider this to be in the same genre as like The Babysitter or something.
Interesting. And is that just down to money and production?
I think, I mean, some of it, yeah, but like we've also seen shorts with presumably less, well, definitely less budget than this that pulled off a overall atmosphere in a more distinct style akin to other genres that aren't specifically B movies.
Mm-hmm.
IMO.
Well, for my O, I'm going to say that this is probably more so, ever so slightly, on the comedy side. I think it satirizes a couple different kind of horror elements almost. And one thing that I always found to be kind of funny, I guess, as we're talking about comedy here, is I love the way that a lot of the comedy in this movie is kind of almost subverted, or it's like kind of like behind the scenes. Like there's this one scene where everyone's disgusted because they're at Hope's wake. And the guy who's giving the speech basically says that he put Hope's ashes in the cake so that a piece of her would be with everyone there.
Fucking gross.
And everyone's like, oh no. And they all start throwing up. And then there's one guy, I don't know if you paid attention, who's like, and then he just keeps eating the cake. And like, as they're walking away, he's still eating cake.
Can we talk about the fucking squelching noises when he's cutting the cake too? That was so fucking unnecessary.
But like
they're cutting through this completely, regular cake. It's not made of slime or anything. It sounds like just like fucking terrible, awful shit that you do not want to be hearing, and which I apologize for making.
Hey, well, there you go. Now, I realize that, Nico, is this your kind of comedic fit here as well? Do you like the comedy?
I was busting a gut through a lot of this. I'm not going to lie. It's just so completely absurd. And I kind of love it for that, honestly. Like, I don't know. I'm still struggling with how I feel about this, but it's getting more positive over time.
Hey,
To
listen.
my own chagrin.
Listen. It is what it is sometimes.
I had hoped that would happen. Not hope like the character, but hope like Obama.
Shut the fuck up.
For the listeners here, that's an actual line from the movie. When they said at the funeral, her name was Hope to Live.
Bro, I was dying. I had to do a double take. I was like, what? And I had to rewind and like make sure I heard that right.
See, the funny thing is, of all the movies that Dan talks about, like, oh, I'm glad I didn't watch this one at work. This is actually one you like could have.
I watched the first like half hour at work.
Yeah, because
Fair enough.
it's not that bad. It's actually not that bad.
No, it's not.
Now, I want to ask really quick here. What did you think about kind of the professor's motivation overall? Because, like, he's just mad he got cucked. I personally liked that because I thought it fit the movie perfect.
It's kind of fucking hilarious.
Dan, your thought on that?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of funny. I hated him as a character, which I mean, I think you're supposed to, like, whatever. But yeah, I thought it was pretty funny.
Word. So that being said, I want to ask now, what's your favorite scene? Or if you don't have necessarily a favorite scene, a favorite kill, what's your favorite thing that happened in this movie, basically?
I think my favorite kill is the aluminum foil one with the serrated edge. Just because, like, I feel like I've thought about that. Not necessarily like killing with it, but just like, oh shit, that would hurt if I got cut or something,
Dude,
you know?
hell yeah.
Like, so to see somebody actually like get killed with it was like kind of brutal. I don't know.
Yeah.
And I think my favorite like scene or whatever was probably the Obama line. Because like I said, for her last name, like I had to do a double take. I was like, did he just say that?
Fair enough. Nico, where are you clocking in at?
I honestly, yeah, that was probably my favorite scene, and it wasn't even because of anything like I don't know, man. That was just so fucking out of pocket.
Did you have a favorite kill?
I liked all of them. I didn't really not particularly, to be honest, with this one. I was more taken with just the absurdity of it all.
Okay. Now for me, my favorite kill isn't really a kill, but it's where the professor basically kidnaps two people from his class and he like ties them up so he can torture them until they tell him where Jeremy, aka Panman, is. And the whole time, like, it's a chick and her boyfriend, and she's like narrating how much the shit's gonna hurt or whatever else like that. And the professor actually takes a fucking potato peeler and peels off like some of the skin off of his cheek. And he's like, ah, and she's like, Dad,
I know that was my favorite kill. I forgot about that.
She's like, that looks like that hurt. And eventually he's like, shut the fuck up. And she's like, kill this bitch. And I was like, yo.
He
So
was like, we're breaking up. And she's like, what? No.
That looks like it hurt. Probably.
My favorite scene, though, was the beach scene that I talked about earlier, because Hope kind of takes off her shirt and she's got like a little, like bikini top. And there's a guy in the back who's like, oh man, like she's hot. And Panman like looks at him and like, don't you dare. And then she's like, oh, Panman, come over here back or whatever. Like, again, we don't hear them saying it, but we see them. And then all of a sudden in the movie, like a seal shows up to distract her.
Oh yeah.
And then while she's distracted by the seal, like Panman beats the shit out of the dude. And I was dying when he fucking did that. So that was probably my favorite scene. But now I have to ask you guys a very serious question. It's time for the what would you do? So of the three of us, let's say all three of us are in this culinary class, who's the most likely one to be possessed by Panman? Who's the most sumptuous target for Panman to take over?
Sumptuous?
I want to say Nico because of his cooking abilities.
That is true.
But I can't say Nico because of the weakness to pesto. So it's like a catch-22. So I'm going to say Nico.
I'm going to say Justin because his bitch ass still hasn't made me any Trini food yet.
I have.
Oh?
You just never tried it.
What? When?
Yeah. That's Bonner. I give him Trini food all the time.
Bro, fuck out of here. You ain't made me shit.
I do. Yo, I'll ask this man right now. I'll be like, hey, yo.
Make Nico that, not just make Trini food for whatever. It's make Nico Trini food.
All right, you see, we'll see. All right, fine. Well, I think it'll also be Nico. So, Nico, you're Panman. Confirmed.
God damn it.
So, if Panman was going to come after you, and this applies to everyone, let's say you knew his weakness to pesto, what trap would you set up to, like, maybe kill him potentially, or at least kill the host body?
Honestly, I would just make vats and vats of pesto. And I would just continue to be slanging some pesto at him. Like, if I have that much pesto, I don't care if I miss. I don't care if he sees.
Super soaker, some shit.
Yeah, I would just like keep tossing pesto.
All right, Nico, what's your pesto, peltation of choice?
What? But I'm Panman. I would just.
Well, I'm saying
die.
that was a separate question. Now, let's say you're not Panman. What would you do to defend yourself from Panman?
Huh. I mean, body swapping aside, I would just like kick the shit out of him, keep him away. He's slow and lumbering, and like frequently is shown to not be able to take a punch. So.
I would probably do like I would pull out my cutlass, but then I would like coat the edge in pesto. So, that could potentially mash them up.
Yo, I also like they were in the restaurant. They lured him to the restaurant, and they're like trying to trick him into eating pesto. So they gave him bread with a side of pesto. And I was just like, wow, that was really tricky. Like, it's just like
I love the little like
pesto.
Fucking commercial iconography with a like blinking lights. Pesto, ding, 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 pointing right to it too.
Well, they actually tricked him the second time by putting the pesto in the chicken, which is what I thought they would have done. But I don't know. Well, in any case, it's time for the critic review, and I guarantee you're going to be shocked shitless here. So this does not have a critic review on Rotten Tomatoes. It does
not surprise me.
It does have an audience score on Rotten Tomatoes. So I'm going to buck the trend here. First, I'm going to ask you guys what you think the rating is on IMDb, but then I'm going to ask you guys what you think the audience score is on Rotten Tomatoes.
Okay.
So to start with, IMDb, we're just going to move the decimal place over by 1, so it's out of 100. What do you think this movie ranked on a scale from 1 to 100 from IMDb?
1 to 10 or 1 to 100?
1 to 100.
20.
Dan?
59.
Nico is closer. This has a 3.3 out of 10, which is a 33 out of 100 on IMDb. So, Nico, you win, but let me ask you too. What did the audience give this on Rotten Tomatoes?
I'm saying 90.
I hate how high I'm going to guess for this, but yeah, I'm also going to say like 95.
Dan wins. This is a 91 on Rotten Tomatoes from the audience here. So
I both love and hate that.
We got some real people of culture in this audience here. Now, I want to get your take. What do you like about the movie? What do you dislike? And what's your score?
I like this movie a lot. I think it's hilarious. It knows what it's doing. You know, the people behind the film, they knew exactly what this movie was. They didn't try to do any more. They didn't try to do any less. And I think they nailed it. I just think it's really fucking funny. And I'm going to give it 90.
I like this movie a lot. I think it's fucking hilarious. They knew exactly what they were doing and they nailed it.
Oh,
And
yeah. Nice. How original.
I like the movie as much now as when I first saw it. So I'm going to give this one an 84.
I am for perhaps the first time ashamed of how much I like a movie that we're reviewing. Because this movie's so fucking dumb, y'all. Like, his weakness is pesto? Are you kidding
It's
me?
a common weakness.
To whom?
People can be allergic to
Who's
pesto.
Name 3 characters right now that are not in this movie who are weak to pesto.
Bruh, pesto can be the result of a milk or nut allergy. Can be
It's the result.
What?
It is the result
of? The result of.
Yeah, you can. So like,
I'm
pesto
never eating pesto again.
So I get someone walks in my classroom with a nut allergy, like some of my students, they just suddenly are ground up into a paste.
Yep.
The fuck?
I'm just letting you know, pesto can trigger a nut allergy. So a lot of people in the world, whoever doesn't like don't fuck with nuts like that, guess what? You can't really fuck with pesto either.
There are nut alternates. Yeah, that's a whole thing. Jesus Christ. Anyway, thanks for the diversion so I could think about what to give this. I'm giving this a 83.
Well, this makes things very interesting. So first off,
I hate it.
is this going to get a recommend from the squad?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Question. Having decided this is going to be recommended, I'm going to ask you a question. It'll most likely be no, and then ask you a next one. Is this going to be nominated for the Golden Seal?
Absolutely the fuck not.
No, but the answer to the next question is yes.
So no, I don't think it's going to be Golden Seal, but do we agree this movie is in fact magical, so bad it's magical?
100%.
It's absolutely the definition of yes.
So this is going to join the vaunted halls along with Troll 2 and I believe Zombies.
Yeah.
And I think there's one more. Lamageddon.
Yes.
Is Killer Sofa there or no?
No, that we actually put that in
Diamond in the Rough.
Yeah.
Okay, then.
Because that was just like genuinely also a really good movie.
True enough. Well,
wait,
hang on,
we got to talk about the backstory.
Oh.
I feel like we're
Post-credit
leaving
scene,
people
DLC.
hanging.
Oh, shit, you're right. So, Nico, why don't you tell the people about the backstory?
So, this is back when we were all still in college, right?
No.
Was it high school?
Oh,
No.
Not that long ago. This was maybe 5 years ago, 6?
5 or 6 years ago.
Oh, okay. Well, then I fully don't remember when this was, but okay. I was over at these two's place back when we all lived in a closer proximity to each other, and we were all rather inspired,
Yes.
I shall say,
Yes.
to watch something that was just gonna blow our socks off, I guess. And much to my surprise and chagrin, this is what they chose. And I had a reaction at the time of like, are you fucking kidding me? No. And then I went to sleep.
Yep.
It was funny because Nico was asleep, but he was still in front of the TV. And Dan and I were dying at this movie. And then like randomly Nico would just like watch a scene and then be like, get the fuck out of here. And then try to go back to sleep. And Dan and I didn't give a fuck. We were laughing loud as shit. And when the movie's over, Dan and I looked at each other. We were like, yup. And Nico was like, and for years, whenever Panman gets brought up, Nico is just irate. So this has in fact cleared the slate.
This has a legacy.
Parody has been restored to the world. And what else can I really say besides that?
I hate that I like this.
So this movie was magical. So let me bust out the stamp. So that's the magical noise.
Oh no.
And with that being said, do you agree? Hit us up on social media. We're on Twitter and Instagram at DOTD Horror. We're also on Facebook.
And now on a couple more lists.
We're also on Facebook. Don't open that door. Plus, you can check out this and everything else we've ever done on our website, which is, of course, dotdhorror.com. But till then, make sure you scrub your pots and pans. Take care of one another. And as always, dear listener, don't open that door. Bye.